Hi Aquarius, thank you for joining me and welcome to my channel. This is Veroosh and we're going to do a weekly for you today for the week of the 11th of July through about the 22nd, okay? So it's right through the end of Cancer season. The reason that it's such a long time span is because the videos are coming out late. I decided last minute to do a weekly. I don't usually do them, but I just thought that I would do it because the energies are just very interesting and dynamic and worth your attention. So I decided on Sunday to do this series because I was getting a lot of questions about what's going on. So I handpicked the order of the signs based on the astrology, and so you're affected less, and that's why you're second to last. The astrology still affects you, and it's an important time for all of us, but a little bit less than the others. So I hope you guys are doing well. I think you're going to really like, well, judging from the title, right? I think you guys are going to really like this frequency. So why don't we get into your video? I also did a video for Aquarius Love 2021, as well as the weekly collective that is talking about similar energies. The link for that is in the description and in the cards. Okay, so why don't we look at the Lenormand to see what your energy is? We have the cross. Let's see what else. We have the garden. And we have the birds in the center. Gossip. There's like an old song about the birdie in the tree singing to me or something like that. So then we have the stork. I think it's from the 50s. And then we have the fish. Okay, so good turnaround because of networks of people for sure. So whatever's going on, there's a lot of people around you at this time. And I feel as though maybe you're the topic of conversation. The birds are indicating that people are interested to find out about you at this time. There's information being spread about you in a positive sense. I feel like you began something in life. You've committed yourself to something new. That's the cross. And with that comes a lot of new experiences. That's the garden. So you picked up some type of commitment. This could have been a move or a new environment that you're in. And by being in that new environment, you're having lots of different interactions and lots of different opportunities. And there's gossip about you. This is what I intuitively pick up on this. It's less Lenormand and more just Verooshmand. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. Sorry guys. If you're new, hi. My moon's in Aquarius, so I'm a little weird. So what was I saying? People say I laugh at my jokes. No, I laugh at how ridiculous I am doing this sometimes, and the things I happen to say. Anyway, so give me a sec. So I had sugar also. I apologize. So I feel as though you're in a new environment with lots of people, and shoot, what was I going to say? My intuitive take on what's going on is that you have some type of, you feel as though there's something to do with business or work that seems to be out of your reach for whatever factors. And these birds, this gossip is going to really be helpful to you, and it's really going to help your circumstances along. You're going to see that come up next. So there's something in your life at this time, at work, an opportunity that seems far away from you at this time. And there's people talking on your behalf, and that's going to lead to wonderful new directions. There's a change in direction and an opportunity, right? So the point is that you've taken a responsibility on, there's new opportunities, you feel like something that you really want is far away from you, but there's people like gossiping in a positive way about you, and that's going to carry information to the right people that will lead to a good outcome. Okay, that's good. By the way, these videos are turning out very long, the ones that I'm doing for the signs at the end of the week, like yours. So Virgo was long, Sag was long, a couple of them were really long. So if I know Aquarians, some Aquarians are not the most patient. So if you're not digging the slow tempo or my slow talking, what you can do is go down here in the player and double time my speech. So you can watch the video twice as fast. I'm not talking very fast. So when you hear it double time, I don't think it's going to be too much for you. So if you're in a hurry and you don't have 40 minutes, which these are turning out to be, then by all means, double time it, watch it in 20, leave me a like and a comment, and I'll see you soon, okay? All right, so now let's take a look at your astrology. Astrology is really the driver of why I'm doing this week. So let me show you the 3 transits that are very important. So in short, this first week, the 11th through the 17th, is a heart expansion week, which means that our compassion and love are really at a high point. There's a grand trine in water next weekend on the 17th and 18th between the Sun and Neptune. That's on the 19th. Hold on. There's a trine between Sun and Neptune on the 19th, and then there's a trine between Mercury and Jupiter all week. And when the moon reaches Scorpio, okay, next weekend on the 17th and 18th, it'll start to create grand trines with these energies. So for you, this is the 2nd house of money, the 6th house of just, I would call it everyday actions, you know, the house of being active and doing things on a day-to-day basis on schedule. And then in the 10th house, the moon will pass, which has a lot to do with your career. So what this grand trine tells me is that your conclusions about life, what you're feeling, having a lot of emotions about at this time, have to do with your career. I feel like the moon will highlight something to do with your outside world that you really want to achieve. This is the separation that we're talking about in the Lenormand. And I think that with Jupiter in your 2nd house and the Sun in your 6th house, you may have some ideas of how to make that a reality, or this good fortune by the gossip of others may lead you in some good directions. So there's an overwhelming frequency of love, of pure emotions, and just open-heartedness. Think of your heart chakra opening up and allowing the good energy out. Our defenses are down during this time. We're more sensitive. We're more emotional. The truth comes out even if it's not convenient. We speak from the heart and we find compassion with others more easily through these transits. So it's a very nice transit. And like I said, it lasts until the 19th with the grand trine of the moon and the Sun and Neptune. So again, big ideas, big thinking. Now for you, that grand trine is going to happen if you're on the west coast of Turtle Island, first thing in the morning. And if you're in Europe or East, then it's going to happen in the afternoon to evening, okay? So all of my times are Pacific time, West Coast. So yeah, here we go. So the next set of transits that are important for you to be aware of this week is the North Node with Aldebaran. Let me show this chart to you from a different perspective. The North Node with Aldebaran in the 5th house of romance, and that's happening, the high point of that is the 15th of July this week, which is this Thursday, tomorrow. And so this conjunction is happening all month for us in July, but the high point, the exact point of the true North Node with Aldebaran will be on the 15th of July. And what this means, sorry if you've heard this before, but we want to get everyone on board. This means that our goals and our ambitions are really clearly in focus. The things who we want to be, the things that are resonant for us are very clear to us at this time. So pay attention to who you are and what it means, because you'll have powerful insights. Also with the Sun and Neptune, you dare to dream. We all do, right? It's a very, very beautiful combination of inspiration. To add to this, on the 15th, Chiron, the wounded healer, who is in Aries, is going to go retrograde. So Chiron deals with our self-confidence in Aries, about how we feel about ourselves, where we fit in the world, and why. When it goes retrograde, we feel a decreased amount of pressure of the consequences of these factors. So whatever we feel hurt by that has held us back or held us down, Chiron retrograde, it allows us some healing and some breathing room from that. So it's in your third house, which has to do with your early development. That is a very sensitive spot for this transit to be happening in general for you, because essentially you're really constantly faced with how your childhood was and what things about your childhood held you back or held you down from where you could be now. It's a tough transit, because it's like, yeah, but the point is we all have limitations. We've all faced some types of barriers, some more than others, but most of us have. And so this idea that there's a picture perfect Aquarian out there, you know, that you could have been, is just a fantasy. So a lot of Chiron in Aries in the third house especially is coming to terms with being okay with not being that perfect version of yourself that could have been, right? But again, there's a lot of room for compassion and healing and grief and mourning for what could have happened, because especially with those of you who are struggling with more difficult realities to contend with. So I'm not trying to gaslight you and tell you that your story is not valid, but this Chiron retrograde will give you a break from that. And so there's a sextile between the North Node and Chiron, and your focus on who you want to be. The fifth house has a lot of force on the 15th tomorrow. You should be already feeling that. So take time with yourself to really address and take a look at your desires and your goals and see where they take you, okay? So that's the second transit. We'll go back to that, I think, in a minute. But the third transit, the one that really happened on Monday and Tuesday this week, is the conjunction of Venus and Mars. This happened in your 7th house. And on Sunday to early Monday, the moon was in Leo with them. So it was a stellium in your 7th house in Leo. Big partnerships could have happened. And the reason that I didn't do your reading earlier is that whatever happened in your relationships, whatever naturally flowed, already has happened. Whether it's your feelings about relationships that opened up, or actually something between you and someone else really got moving. This transit really initiated an energy, but this energy will last for 6 months. So it's not until the third conjunction between Mars and Venus in Aquarius that you'll see the full manifestation of everything that's just happened. So essentially everything that's happening here is below the surface. So everything that happened on the 13th and the 12th is not really apparent. And I don't mean below the surface astrologically. I know you guys will say, well, what about the 12th house? This isn't about that. This is about whatever exchange was meant to happen has happened. Whatever thought was meant to happen in your mind has happened. So don't worry about not being aware of it if you missed that on the 12th and the 13th. Okay, you're good. And so this energy will continue through to Aquarius, where first there will be a conjunction in Capricorn, but then it'll happen in your 1st house. And look, Saturn, your ruler, is in Aquarius at this time as well. And so with this frequency, you're under a lot of pressure to change your personality from the outside world. There's a lot of pressure from the outside world telling you who to be and who not to be. This is incredibly distracting from opening yourself up to partnerships and relationships. So Saturn in the first house is a tough time to really bond with someone because you feel like the people are pointing at you and pointing out all your mistakes and so forth. Saturn is retrograde this summer, so you get a break. But as Saturn moves further into Aquarius, and this transit happens early next year in March of 2022, you're going to have enough breathing room to come to a full realization of something that affects your partnerships and your relationships life, that you have the power to change, and that has something to do with your personality. That has something to do with you. So you will have the opportunity to become more outgoing. You will have the opportunity to change whatever needs to be changed at this time, to put on a different mask, to put on a different persona, to put on a different version of yourself, the one that's more authentic. So this transit will teach you how to reach a greater level of authenticity. And if you're watching this for the first time, I'm not accusing anybody of being disingenuous. Our entire human process in part has to do with reaching deeper levels of authenticity. So we're essentially all in a process of seeking that. And so in this transit, that's what you're working through. You'll have some experiences with others and experiences with yourself, with your ambitions and goals. And then you're going to come almost not full circle, because obviously it's half circle, but you're going to come and have that reflect directly in your first house. And so you're going to gain some powerful insights into who you are and hopefully have the capacity and ability to make better choices or feel more empowerment with regard to relationships. So I think it's a really beautiful transit for you, but one you don't have to rush. So essentially, whatever's happened on the 12th and the 13th doesn't matter. This is just an initiatory energy, initiation, and then the full outcome will be March 2022. And so I was going to connect that for you with the North Node in the 5th house. The 5th house has a lot to do with romance. And you can notice the sun here at the end of Cancer entering Leo, which is your 7th house. So something for many of you, relationships are at a high point. With the North Node with Aldebaran in the 5th house, you're probably thinking a lot about what kind of partner you need or what kind of situation, who you love and why and what's important. And all these three transits, the sun entering Leo, the North Node in Gemini, and Sun and Venus and Mars in Leo, all of these transits are incredibly favorable for you in love. And so love might be at the forefront of your mind and also pulling you in. So all this talk about people and circumstances, this is outside of like romantic love, but you are being very much, you're like a people magnet at this time. A lot's going on at your descendant, so people are attracted to you, right? So yeah, you have some pretty nice transits and you're getting a lot of attention. Your heart's opening up. You feel passion towards your career. Those are the frequencies of this week. Now, I want to talk about some things that will be less harmonious. And I know some people get triggered by that. So skip over this part and watch the tarot, which I'll start in a minute. But I want to tell everybody else some things about transits that you want to know, okay? Regarding like less harmonious frequencies, okay? So one of the things that you guys might want to be aware of is that, so like I said, this first week, the 11th through the 17th, is incredibly compassionate, heart-opening. You feel safe, you feel loved. On the 17th, however, we have an opposition between the Sun and Pluto forming. This happens once a year. It's nothing, it's somewhat rare because it happens once a year, but it's important. And in some way, for you, there could be something, and especially if There could be something underneath the surface of things that is putting a lot of pressure on you, Aquarius, with Pluto in the 12th house. Depending on how intense that suppression is, think of a firm grip holding a pole really tightly underneath the surface of something, and you feeling pressure from that. It's not a pole, but it's like it's some kind of thing in your life that is behind the scenes. You may only partly know about it because it's in the 12th house. But depending on how intense that pressure is, that suppression from Pluto in your 12th house, something that's controlling your life and very likely outside of your control. Whatever that is behind the scenes, when the sun forces its opposition, the sun checks Pluto, and by checks I mean corrects Pluto and rebuffs whatever is going on in your 12th house. So whatever kind of force is pushing you down, Aquarius, it could be mild, but it could be quite intense. When the sun forms the opposition, there's a massive pushback. And the problem with this transit is that it can manifest as an outburst of energy. You know, you can have like a violent, not physically violent, but emotionally violent outburst. Something else can, you know, come through. You could be enraged, and your sun could be, you know, the transit of the sun could suddenly be like, you could be frustrated by what's going on, you know, and speak to those things, address them, try to rip them out of the ground, the things that suppress you, right? And so while you're having this open-hearted transit of the grand trine, grand water trine, and so forth, this opposition, when your defenses are down, may be unexpected. Well, not unexpected now because you watched the video. But remember, on the 17th, this opposition is exact. And so you want to be very wary of how you use this energy, and be aware that if something's suppressing your life behind the scenes, and maybe you don't even know what it is, but you feel it's there, the greater the suppression, the greater the pushback may be, the greater the, how do you say, the messiness of it could get bigger, okay? And then the sun will move into your 7th house, which will be very favorable for that on the 22nd, but that will lead to several days of transits that are going to be intense for all of us, okay? The second transit that I want to highlight for you guys that might be less harmonious is Lilith is moving into Gemini on Sunday, and so this is your 5th house. Those of you who are dating with Lilith in the 5th house, be very wary of who you let into your life, okay? So that doesn't mean you can't date, but with Lilith in the 5th house, I would be wary, and if anyone you're interacting with poses any kind of indication that there's something off about them, just don't go there with them at all. So yeah, Lilith will be in Gemini from July till April 2022. It's a transit that's much focused on harsh words and being mean sort of energy than it was in Taurus, which was very physical, okay? We saw a lot of physical stuff going on in the world. But I also want to say that Lilith is often accentuated online. She's not necessarily like the most important transit. You don't even see her in my chart anymore. The reason I would talk about her for so long is because it created conjunctions with these outer planets that were triggers for the last several years. But Lilith, as she enters into Gemini, she's in a clear area of the house where she will not form those harsh conjunctions for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So you have a nice long time to go, and this transit is degraded now, in my opinion. And furthermore, I feel like online marketing and media has made Lilith out to be something like much more central than she needs to be, especially in terms of astrology, okay? So if you're watching this and you're scared and you're like, oh, you know, I want to date someone, but I don't know now, don't let it freak you out, but just use your discretion, Okay, so again, the pattern that I'm trying to describe for you guys and let you know that we're going to be very open and peaceful and receptive this week until the 16th or 17th, and even through the 17th and 18th. And that's when the harsh angles and the harsh transits start showing up. The Sun, Pluto opposition, Lilith and Gemini transit, Mercury square Chiron. Mercury is in Cancer, squaring Chiron. Then we have Venus opposite Jupiter next week. So leading up to the full moon on the 23rd in your sign, in your first house, on your ascendant, there's a lot of intense energies that show up after a period of very harmonious ones. And so be very, very wary of getting discouraged. Like, the harmony that you achieve this week is the true path. The North Node is telling you the right way to go. So don't allow like frustrations show up next week and discourage you from your purpose and make you feel like it's unattainable. It's not, okay? So that's the astrology. I think I did better with your sign than anybody else. I know how you guys like me to get to the point. So, okay. So this is a dice that I use to identify an area in the chart that might be significant. It's just divination. And I have the 9th house. So in your 9th house is the house of Libra, right? And the only significant transit that's happening in Libra right now is the moon is going to be in Libra from 15th of July in the morning until the morning of the 17th. And while it's doing that, it's going to form an opposition to Chiron in Aries retrograde. And so what happens in your 9th house? 9th house in Libra is, for you, is long distance travel, higher education. And in some way, your moon is going to give you the go-ahead to pursue some things in the world that you feel like your closed environment, your primary environment, your town, your village, the city you're from, especially from when you were a kid, the things that you may feel are holding you back. The moon will signal a green light for you to go after the bigger dreams, to go after, you know, inspiration. And that sun is coming up here. So by the time the sun is in Libra, you can follow through with that energy very well. And then the sun will be with Mars, I believe. So maybe not Venus will push ahead, but still you're coming up and to the top of the horizon. So in terms of like timing of the year, your life is becoming out in the world. So you're actualizing those things that are happening in your visions and dreams right now. Those things will become increasing realities in the fall and into the winter. Okay? So beautiful transits for you. This is your coming. It's almost like not graduation, but like coming of age. You know, when the girl or the boy presents themselves to a room of people as a little adult, you know, it's a very cute moment. This is a similar frequency for your energy now. So don't let next week disturb you or discourage you at all. You're still on your path, Aquarius. Okay? And the pull of love is strong. I don't know if I emphasize that enough, but it is strong at this time. So let's take a look at tarot. So we have the Page of Swords, new ideas. You're done with some, I feel also, you know how I apologize that this might be long-winded? I feel from you guys that it's not just that you're impatient in general. I feel like impatience from you guys at this time. You just want to get on with it, you know, everything. And I think that's because you have new plans. You're ready for new things. You're frustrated with Saturn in the first house, kind of keeping you grounded a lot. Maybe some of the, like, you would be much more in different places if Saturn wasn't there, but circumstances in your life have you grounded. Then we have the 8 of Swords, and we have the Ace of Pentacles, new beginnings. So you're going to have to wait for a little bit for a financial circumstance to make itself available for you to pursue this new dream or this new goal. It's not a bad thing, but in the meantime, you don't have the resources necessary to fully put into play the goals and the ambitions that you hope for yourself. So this is definitely a longer transit, which means that it's going to take a bit longer for you to achieve your goals. But when that new opportunity, financial opportunity, shows up for you, maybe in a month, maybe in a 2, then that new hope, this new ambition that you have, will find its resolution. And so the limitations that you're feeling, and I'm guessing these are the limitations you'll feel next week, will be resolved. So don't allow next week to discourage you. There's wonderful new outcomes for you, a new beginning. Okay, so here is the next card. We have the 3 of Swords. New beginnings, 3 of Swords. And then we have the 7 of Wands. Somebody else got this too. And then we have, let's see, we have the 6 of Swords. Lots of swords for you, but I guess you're an air sign, so that makes sense. I feel as though you're going to be changing your environment. Many of you are going to change where you are. Whether it's changing, remember that we got the 9th house for you. So the 9th house has a lot to do with relocation. It might have something to do with, this is like very close neighborhood changes. That's where Chiron is, somewhere nearby. The 9th house is like leaving the continent, going somewhere else far away, really changing your environment, you know. And I sense that this is what I feel so far. And I feel like you have already some new beginnings in your heart already. Aquarians have instincts. You already know that like you need to focus elsewhere, and you're doing that. But your current environment is limiting to you, and you're constantly disappointed or being left bewildered by the fact that your environment is not reciprocating in an equitable way to you. They're not giving you your fair due back, right? And so it's a tough moment for a little bit of time as you are holding on to this space, as you are becoming self-realizing the fact that the people and the institutions and the situations around you are not going to honor this new idea. They're not going to honor this new version of you, this new part of you that's coming out. But I think you'll be resilient, which is the 7 of Wands. It's typical Aquarian energy, right? Resilient and strong and determined. And at times you might feel worried or wondering whether it'll work out. But it's going to be something from outside of your environment that shows up, that clears your path for a way forward. And that's where you're going, a new direction. Let's do one more row and take a look at that. So 4 of Wands, this is really good. Change of environment. Definitely a change of, I feel as though you feel towards someone or something as if they let you down, as if they did not give you the proper respect or the proper reciprocation that you deserved and and so there was a lack of reciprocity. And you're no fool, you know, and you're like, I'm not foolish. I know this is not a good energy for me. And so what do you do with that, right? Like, and so essentially you're going to find a happy place. The 4 of Wands, it's a very beautiful energy of places where you feel fulfilled. And I think you already know that's the agenda, that you need to find a place that you're received well, where your thoughts are not questioned or criticized, right? Then we have the Queen of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, secondary transits in water as well. And then we have the 7 of Swords, Moon in Aquarius. So I feel like very wise decisions. Some woman, maybe it's a man, maybe a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. I think somebody's going to encourage you to take a different route, take a different direction. I think they're going to give you a different opportunity or a different option than that's available to you now. And you're going to follow them and sort of cut your losses in a direction that was like, you know, it's time to go. Like, you know, it's time for you to go, because the environment, they won't tell you, they won't self-recognize that they're being toxic or whatever the motivation is, whether it's self-interest or corruption or whatever else, you know, self-realization by people who in some way, the space is vacuous. It doesn't offer you anything anymore. And trying to argue with it to give you more is pointless. And I think you're cluing into that it's just not providing you what you need. You're not celebrated there. And so someone shows up, Queen of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and she says, I have a better path for you, which is the Four of Wands. I have a better path, a better direction, you know, harmony and love and compassion and positive feelings. And I think that everything that you're not receiving right now and you have to defend yourself over, you're going to be very supported in this direction. So it's a direction of prosperity. Even in the best environments, when everyone is set, maybe not against you, but where everybody is, how do you say, like, once their positions are made and you're not a part of the equation, it's very hard to stay in that, because it's like, it's kind of, you feel foolish. You feel like you're not going to get anything else out of the situation, and it's better to move on and realize that than try to get something out of those people who can't give it to you. On the bottom is the Two of Cups. So I promise this came up this way, which is Venus in Cancer. So this could be a woman, this could be a man, whatever your orientation is. I sense that this could be a relationship that takes your mind off and helps you go a different direction. But the bottom line of this is love. There's a lack of love and compassion in your current environment, and you essentially have to go a different direction. You just have to. And you'll achieve your goals, you'll achieve your dreams, but not where you're at. I think that the pull of love, I didn't even realize, I didn't make the connection. So this love, whatever it is pulling you away from what's dead and done, you know? Yeah. I'm sorry if you're in this situation. I'm sorry if you're stuck in a it's people's capacity, you know? Sometimes people can push us above their station in life and their circumstances, but oftentimes people can only push you up as far as they are. So if you've achieved something, which it looks like you have, people around you can only push you up to their level. So it might not be something horrible. It might be just the fact that they can't push you up higher than they are, and you need to find yourself a plateau with people that are at a higher level who can push you up further, or who can meet you there, right? So in some way, like, trying to explain your ideas to people who don't even understand them, or who are not even thinking on that same page, could be futile, and you could be spinning your wheels a lot, burning yourself out. And so I think you're going to find a different direction. Okay, so let's see. Oh, wrong dice. Okay, so let's see what signs are important for you during this time. So we have Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I've been getting a lot of positive messages from Capricorns about Aquarians, so pay attention. Aries, that's where Chiron is, in your third house. Aries people, Sun, Moon, and Rising will help you with a lot of self-healing, especially childhood wounds and stuff like that. And finally, last but not least, is Leo. Leos come into your life at this time to help you with partnership. All this Venus and Mars energy can really help you. They can be the conduit of change. And this person, whether she's a man or a female, could be a Leo. I have a feeling. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay, Aquarians, I hope it was worth it. I hope you're okay. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make the energy real. And I'll talk with you soon. Take care. Bye.